The
Just Ben.
the online experience is not.
No,
Really?
just the sound quality in itself. is
Yeah,
not great.
any side noise, paper shuffling,
Well, that's-
tap on the desk. It just, on the other end, it becomes.
So when I'm talking, I go like this.
Yeah.
I know.
Nervous habits.
Exactly.
I'll send her like this.
That thing follows the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I really tried to listen really hard and if you have side conversation here, one over here,
It's all blurred then.
no, it's just get out of the room.
You
because
cut
can't
out of the
understand
SEH
any of it.
meeting. You cut out of the SEH meeting.
Well, I think if you would have individual mics would go,
I think so. I'm gonna talk to Dalton and Ben about it.
if we ever get set up.
Yeah. That's just something we need to be kind of watchful.
But I'm not so sure it shouldn't be piped in, and that also at the same time be piped in theirs, because I hear a lot of conversations that people watch on TV. But sound is an issue.
Yeah, you are almost impossible.
He does it all for this.
So there's some things we need to kind of.
So I wonder if the camera could still follow where the voice is, but we had individual mics.
That might help a lot.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
I,
thinking.
I jumped in when I did the Zoom on the mental health. So I tried to watch that one because they use an owl also. And, but they use a microphone right off their computers. And it did seem that I was a little clearer. We didn't have that side.
So is that a hybrid meeting or was that a? all on-
That's a hybrid. Yeah, there were, I think there was 2 of us that joined in.
Otherwise, everybody was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think in fact there was a 1% who was asking for friends.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Okay, the first thing we have is the approval of the agenda. Is there any additional corrections to the agenda?
If there's no additions or corrections, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Nothing. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion carried. Next we have is approval of the minutes from last week. I thought they read well. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, the first thing we have on the agenda is Carroll Area Child Care Center fiscal year 23 funding request.
Good morning.
Keely, or someone wanted?
Good morning, yes, absolutely. My name is Keely Farah, and I'm the director of the Carroll Area Child Care Center and Preschool. And I'm here today with Jackie Marquez, our board president, and Tricia Christensen, our board secretary. First of all, I just want to thank you for your time this morning and allowing us to come and join you. If you guys don't mind, I can give you a little bit of a background, a recent update on our child care center as it is today. So we have 160 children enrolled and 35 staff members. 30 of those employees are full-time, and I just have 5 part-time employees that are actually like high school and college staff. Our enrollment is definitely based on the employees that we pull in. So many of you know how a child care center runs when you're licensed, but one of the biggest priorities is maintaining staff to child ratio. So with that being said, if we do not have the staff to provide care for the children, that allows us to care for less children. So It's very important that we have the proper amount of staff to care for the number of children. I spend most of my mornings figuring out the schedule for the day, making sure that we are fully staffed properly in order to maintain ratio guidelines. And I know that this year we are writing and asking for the same $11,000 benefit to the center. And that is, our board voted unanimously to have those funds go directly to our staff, our ones that have been there and showed their time, their years, their dedication, and also to our new ones who, I'm so grateful for the applicants that we have received recently. Many have the experience, and I know that when they sign up to work at the Child Care Center, I know that they're truly there to be there for the kids. And that they are my number one priority, as essentially they're what make the place run. I mean, I'm there to help them and make sure that we're following all the procedures, but without them, we couldn't open our doors.
Yeah, I mean, I would second what Keely said, you know, I mean, staffing, obviously with everybody else is running into the same issues right now. So, you know, our pay isn't where we want it to be. We want to give these employees more for the time and everything that they do for the children at the center. So we want to be able to get more staff in there so that way we can get we can fill our rooms where right now we're not quite able to do that.
We have about 6 vacancies that actually are among our most expensive childcare, which are infants up to age 2. So we are super optimistic that we can continue to enroll our new infants throughout the end of the year and into the beginning of next year and be at full capacity, because that is our goal. And I feel like in the years past, you know, it's always been a goal to maintain and, you know, continue doing what we're doing, but we really do have goals, and especially me in my first year in this role, I really hope to progress and maintain that full capacity so that we can benefit and continue to benefit the community.
And I'll just speak from I'm board president, but I'm also a parent of children in that child care center. And I want to reiterate how important it is. We do serve parents and families of over 100 employers in the county here. So speaking from personal experience, if I don't have childcare for my children to be able to go, I can't go to work. I can't do what I do every day. And we're trying to balance keeping our rates reasonable so that way our parents don't feel crushed by the expense of childcare, because it is a lot. And we're also trying to balance that with giving our employees the rate that they do deserve, because childcare is underpaid. The people who work in childcare, they're underpaid. And so we want to be able to retain the employees that we have and recruit new ones, and also maintain somewhat reasonable rates for our parents to pay so that they can have good quality childcare and also be able to go to work. And I think we're one of the places where parents can depend on us. We are open. They don't have to worry about getting a call from, you know, their in-home childcare center that they're sick and they can't care for their kids. We are there. I think I've had children in the center for 11 years. There's only been one time where I couldn't send my kids, and that's when our building got flooded. It's the only time we've had to shut down. Even during the pandemic, a lot of the centers, and Tricia can speak to this because she does oversee a lot of centers, a lot of other centers in other counties and other places had to shut down during the pandemic for various reasons, and our center was able to stay open. So I think that speaks a lot to our administration in the center and their diligence with keeping up with all the standards and ever-changing requirements from DHS. So I can speak personally from both being on the board and overseeing things at the center, and also from a personal perspective, being a parent, I've had 4 children go through the center, and it's a wonderful place. And I see a lot of good things, and we want that to be able to continue. And I think if you've reviewed our financials, it's tough. We're facing a lot of variables, food costs, and trying to raise our the rates for the staff. I think there's a lot of variables that go into this, and we would just really appreciate your continued support, because it does help us to keep our doors open and keep good quality childcare for the children in this county and for the families.
I just want to add a couple of statistics through childcare resource and referral. In 2021, or excuse me, 2016, there were 107 childcare programs listed with childcare resource and referral. And that is in-home childcare providers and licensed centers in Carroll County. And in 2021, we had a total of 59 in Carroll County. So that's a decrease of 45% of childcare providers. Many of the in-home providers, I used to visit them, have retired or have gone to find a job with insurance. And we've actually even had a licensed center in Carroll close this past year. So it's tough. I mean, and it's all because of staffing. And another thing, another statistic through childcare resource and referral is they talk about childcare deserts across the state of Iowa. And unfortunately, Carroll County is also considered a childcare desert, which means there are 3 children we have 3 children in Carroll County for every 1 open childcare slot. So childcare is in high demand in all the counties. I actually serve 4 different counties, Carroll, Audubon, Greene, and Guthrie, working with 17 different licensed preschools and centers in those 4 counties. And honestly, the Carroll area childcare center and preschool was the only center. They actually, I think, ended up closing just a couple of days when we had our first bout of COVID. However, I had other centers that were closed for months at a time. So it's tough. I mean, every center or every county needs childcare. And right now, I mean, every center I'm working with is really struggling to come back from this pandemic.
Any other questions? There's a lot of them are starting to retire.
Yes.
Particularly one. Right.
You know her well.
I'm sure she'd stop at our house.
Yes.
I guess my only question to you, and maybe you can explain this to the board too, because a lot of times when we hear you're going to do a salary increase going forward and years forward, how do you sustain that if you're not, let's just say you can't come to the board next year and get that $11,000. Are you able to sustain that going forward?
One of the things we talked about, rather than doing a flat salary increase, is giving like a one-time bonus or something to the staff that we have that have been there based on merit. You know, we have a scale that we use for merit increases. So I think that that's probably something we would consider. We have talked about that as opposed to doing a flat, salary increase. But it's something we have to review because we do want to work, I think, on getting both our, our hourly rates up, but we want to reward those employees who have been there, who have been very loyal to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the reason that we're considering this so much at this time is because all of those employees worked through the pandemic. Like they could have stayed home, but they were all there. So we want to recognize them for that. And truthfully, we do have longevity benefits in place, but to be honest with you, until they work there for 5 or 6 years, that's when they're receiving that first longevity bonus. So I feel so strongly about the current staff that I have right now that I want to be able to recognize them for that so that I can keep them. Like I seriously feel so lucky to have them right now.
You know that a lot of people have started working from home.
Yes.
But that does not necessarily translate that the kids are staying home. Your daycare is just as active as before.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a misconception out there that a lot of people have that probably should be going down, but they're not. I thought, well, that's how that will relieve some of the child care issues, and then I think that still do it at home. The children.
Yes, absolutely. They would be far less productive by the phone calls. So yeah, that's what we're there for.
Any other questions for them?
Well, Keely, since you're new,
Yes.
and I'll go go back to my comments that I made, except last year I let Nikki off the hook.
Okay.
I guess my big concern is your debt. Your $369,000 debt and the interest that you pay on that. Our contribution doesn't even cover that. So we basically give you money so that you can pay your interest. And that's kind of how I look at that. I mean, you look at it differently, but that's how I look at it. That, you know, if you didn't have that debt, just think of the things that you could do. I guess that's always been a concern of mine. You know, is that you can, the other two daycare centers that we provide some financing for, they have their facilities paid off and they don't have to pay interest, which is a benefit to them. So I guess that would be, I think you have 100 businesses that whose employees you provide service for. And that's a great asset for them, you know, is to have a daycare center that, you know, that their employees can. So I think you need to reach out to them and say, hey, help us out a little bit. Get us, you know, you can do this.
Yes, absolutely. And we have done that by means of our annual fundraiser. Yes, we reached out to everyone in our local community as well as all of our enrolled families. And we have received considerable contributions from them as well. Like I said, we're so grateful for anything that we can receive in order to continue just moving forward.
Maybe that's, you know, I mean, maybe we should do some kind of a push, you know, at some point.
Absolutely.
Because I do get your point. But you know, the way that, you know, I mean, if you've reviewed our financials, it's tough to do that without outside support. So,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
I look
yeah.
at your financials and I don't know how you do it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, well, and like you said before, it's like we're trying to balance all this stuff, because I mean, I know what I pay for childcare, and I mean, I feel like it's very worth it, so I'm happy to pay that, but, you know, we don't want to squeeze these families so much, because it makes it tough for them to go to work, knowing they have to pay, you know, we don't want to push that all on those families, so I think maybe that could be something we
Yeah.
can look at into, just doing maybe a separate campaign type thing to try to.
Just for the businesses.
Reduce
Hey,
that.
I would focus on
Yes, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that's a great idea.
employers of
Yeah.
families.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just target those specifically and, I mean, let each business know, actually, you have this many employers, I mean, working for you that utilize the Carroll Area Child Care Center.
Yeah, and you know, you do a great job. There's no doubt about it. Our eldest is 41 now, and he went
Okay.
to your daycare center. So the daycare center has been able to stick around for a long time and is a great asset to the community.
Any other questions? Okay, we will take this under consideration, and as just a reminder, this is the first of the process, and as we go through, we will make the final determination of the budget. Final prepared, so.
Thank you so much
Sounds
for your
great.
time.
Thank you for your
letting
time.
us-
Okay, next we have secondary roads and building permits.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Zach.
Morning.
Just one utility permit today. This is for the city of Lanesboro. This is for the water system connection from the city of Lake City to Lanesboro. As you might remember, the engineer for this project did a presentation here quite a few months ago. They did get through their permitting process, I believe, or at least got it, they're in the middle of it, and they have their final plans done. They have got their route determined. They are staying in private property for the majority of the project. There are some areas near some acreages and other places where they are out into the right of way. I think I have worked with them and they've addressed some of my concerns as far as how close they are to the road and directional boring versus the open cut and some other areas. So I think it's definitely a doable project. So I guess there's been a lot of other conversations regarding this. I think, everybody knows where it's at, but any questions in general about this permit?
What would we wind up total right away? Do you know approximately how many feet
That are in the right of way?
that will wind up being?
If I had to guess, I would say probably less than 1,500 feet total, maybe 2,000, somewhere in there.
There are always the exemptions that come up, that there's things that this can't go down.
There's some areas that are close to the city of Lanesboro where they stayed in the right of way, and then other than that, it's basically acreages or a building site or something like that where they've had to go around and whatnot.
All road borders being done as board.
Correct. There's actually I think there's 4 miles within 3 miles within Carroll County. There's only one road crossing, and that's 110th Street north of Lanesboro. So, and that will be a mover. So, other than that, they're staying on the same side of the road, basically. So,
With the stuff we've seen, but edge of Lanesboro, it's gonna be bored.
yep, the areas, especially that get closer to the road or the bottom of the ditch, those are being bored. There was a couple areas, I believe, where they still are open cutting in the ditch, but they're towards the back slope in those areas. So, and there's definitely some utility concerns. I mean, there's some overhead power that's near where they're trying to go. There's some fiber optic lines where they're trying to go. And they're aware of that, so they're gonna have to work around that and go from there. I believe the timeline on this project for them is they're wanting to let this come this spring, like February timeline. And I think they're hoping construction sometime next year is what the last I heard. So,
Completed next year?
I think it goes through the winter, if I remember right. The completion time frame does, but I guess it all depends on when the contractor would get started.
It really shouldn't take that long.
It really shouldn't. I mean, I'm sure some of the work at the plant and, decommissioning the water tower or whatever else stuff they need to do, that might take a little more time, but the actual installation of the line really shouldn't be. It's like 8 miles total. I mean, it's not a huge endeavor really.
So they're gonna be just strictly a pressurized system.
I believe so. I don't know if they have to have, I guess I haven't looked close enough in the plans to see if there's any booster pumps or anything like that, if they have to have anything to keep the pressure up, but that's the way I understand it.
That's not our concern. Any other questions on the utility permit?
So north of 110th Street, that's where they're gonna run the main part of the line, right? And that's gonna be private property then?
Yep,
2 miles?
yep, it goes north of Lanesboro up to 110th. Some of that's in the road ditch for a little bit, and then it pops out into private property, crosses 110th, stays on the north side, goes west for a mile, and then it goes back north again for 2 miles. So
Well, that shouldn't take very long once they get across the road. I mean, they can bore that.
How many miles in Carroll?
it's a few more. I thought it was 5 total.
We're forgetting about the rest of that too.
Maybe it's another 4 or 5 to get. I'm not sure exactly where they're connected to on the south side of town. For some reason, I thought it was like between 7 and 8 miles altogether. So, but no, it really shouldn't. I mean, there's tile crossings they're gonna have to cross and different things, but it's really not that hard of a project, I guess, from that standpoint. I don't know what contractor availability is going to be, if there's going to be a big push with a lot of construction going for next summer, or what the situation might be. But it should be something that can be getting done in the construction season very easily if they get started. It's a matter of when they start and what they have for a completion date.
How big a pipe is that again?
A 6-inch.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the utility permit?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carries.
Thank you. Unless you got questions for me, that's all I have in there.
Thanks for the work
Thank you.
on that, Zach. It's been a project,
It's advanced.
which we're still not there yet.
All right, next we have is the GIS Quarterly Report.
Good morning. I've got my third quarter data here. I did do a little bit of work with the city of Manning. They needed some topography maps, which are elevation maps. It looks like they're going to be doing some work with nuclear. And they had asked for some data to help them speed along the process and make it a smoother transition. So I did work with Manning in the third quarter. Zach from the engineer's office gave me some utility permits that I have drawn in and made shape files for him. I did, I think, 2021 to 2016, and I currently have 2013 at my desk for Western Iowa Networks. I will say building, or those utility permits are very interesting to read. Not my forte, so it took me a minute to get used to those. We had our IJIC quarterly report for the Iowa GIS group, and they're looking for a new president. So I've been kind of attending those meetings, just kind of getting my more involved with those. I did get nominated for that ICIT board. We had a meeting in Ames where we went over strategic planning, trying to better the GIS and IT here in Iowa. How can we help all counties? What can we do better? So we had a nice meeting there in Ames. Over the quarter, we had a lot of approvals for annexations. I'm probably going to butcher his name, but Mark Cope. Sorry. We had that annexation, and just west of town, we had the solid waste management where they brought that in. I've been working with the city of Carroll to get new address numbers out there because that area was all previously county address. So we're probably going to have to change some road segments on GeoCom side.
Who designates those, postal service or yourself?
For the county,
Yeah.
I do the county, but the cities and the post office, I think, work together for the cities because county addressing is a little different. Like I said, currently they have county addresses, but now that they're incorporated,
Right.
I've reached out to see if we can get something going there. GeoCom dispatch works with road segments, and the way that they dispatch emergency vehicles is based on the center lines and what numbers are attached to that. So I've kind of reached out, trying to get that going, so we have everything set for GeoCom and our dispatch. Glidden had the Carroll Chevrolet area annexed in. They did do their readdressing, so I've got that all done for Glidden. And then we had fun redistricting training where we thought we were going to have to use legacy data and pull it into a bunch of databases. So I did a lot of training on that, a lot of work with that. And then we found out that the state was giving us a nice tool, so we didn't. It already had the block numbers in with all of the population indexes. So we kind of lucked out, and I didn't have to make a huge amount of shape files because the state did provide us with that tool. So that was very nice. Got my ongoing business of, addressing 911 safety zones. Future business, after we're done with redistricting, I'm looking into plat books. Courtney had asked me about plat books and if we could in-house those. It's a big project, but I feel like we can. It's just something I'll probably have to look at more after we're done with our redistricting at the end of the year here. And then I'm hoping to get migrated from ArcMap to ArcPro just because the services and it's just they're not updating it because they're focusing on ArcPro. We kind of talked about how that was all going to change. Well, noticing some glitches and bugs, and I think we're time to go all the way to Pro. So those are my big upcoming agendas there.
You mentioned that in addition to the city of Carroll. At the very beginning, is that 111 acres out here?
By New Hope,
Yeah, north of.
Yep. It's called the Lamar Kopi edition, or yeah. So they annexed that in. Nice thing is it didn't have an address point at that time, so I just had to annex in the foreground by changing polygons. And
As far as you know, the whole 111 is being requested in the city. As far as you know.
it did approve through the state offices. It was approved, so I did change the lines out there to incorporate that into Carroll.
Any other questions?
If we start doing West Side ambulance service, is that gonna be a lot of work for you?
I did get data, it's not listed here because this is from the third quarter. I did get data from Crawford County and it doesn't look like a huge amount of work for me. I just clicked into data.
I saw your sketch.
I didn't make it super pretty because I didn't know if we were going to adopt it or not, but if we do adopt it, I will make it formulate to our lines and look better. So it'll take some work, but the main part's done. I flipped all the data and shaped it next to ours.
Any other questions? Good enough. Do we need a motion to accept the report? All right,
You're done.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You should.
Right, next we have is the Fifa remediation plan approval and review.
We've got two people online. Crash. Got Roger and Stephanie.
Do the Crush people want to address this?
Sure, we can go over it quickly with you. This is an adjunct to what we did on the security side back in July. What we're looking for is approval on this plan. Under the regulations, we conduct a risk assessment around the privacy regulations as opposed to the security, which we did before. And that then generates a remediation plan, which gives us a time-sensitive plan under which to remediate all the issues that were brought up with the risk assessment. So if you go through, you can see on the risk score, we have one medium, which is basically doing what we're doing in terms of risk, and all the rest are low. Part of that is because we cover a fair amount of this during the security side, but the regulations are broken out into two different pieces. So we go through this exercise a second time. The remediation plan you have in front of you. We'll also have the person who's assigned to make sure that these tasks get accomplished. And that's Megan. And then we decided, or you all decided, that the board would approve everything. And you can see the target dates by which we want to get these items remediated. We have one we want done by March. The others we want done by the end of May. We're on good track to get that done. Really all we're looking for today is the board to approve the remediation plan so we can start working on it.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Megan's been involved in this all a while.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
So you need to have this approved today?
Yes.
No, you can approve it when you'd like. We're actually just working on the assumption that it will be approved. And so we're working through the remediation. But you know, for sake of good order and just have the document, yes, we'd like to get approval at some point in the near future. Yes.
You know, 100% of these, the assignee is Megan, Owen. And she hasn't reached out to any of the board, I don't believe, as far as concerns or,
She called me today and asked if she needed to be present for the meeting, and I asked her if she had any concerns, and she said no.
Okay,
So,
that would be my concern, is that, is there something in here that she may?
Well, that's kind of what I was
Object to.
asking. She's been involved in this.
Yeah, yeah,
both her and Dalton, and I believe Ben have all been involved in it. This is
Yeah.
just the next step.
But
Sorry to-
this part basically covering the HIPAA part of it, right?
Right.
Yeah, Megan and I have been working on this together, so a lot of these tasks I will assist her in completing. But when we sat down with Karash, we kind of went through each one of these and went through what we needed to do to complete them.
And just to be clear, from our perspective, the person assigned is not necessarily the person who is going to accomplish the task, but they're responsible. In Megan's case, she's privacy officer, as making sure these get done. And these were basically very beginning of the project. We went over who was going to be security officer, who's going to be privacy officer, those kinds of things, and that flows through to the assignees and approvers on the remediation plans.
I'm glad you asked her that question. That was kind of my.
Well, and yeah, and her and Dalton and Ben have all been working together, so.
yeah, as long as she's aware of everything and has no concerns, I guess I don't have any problem with it, but I sure don't want to approve something that. And then all of a sudden-
31 items you gotta do.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden I get a call and say, why did you approve that?
Well,
Yeah.
she is the privacy officer and Dalton's the security officer, so they're working together to get these things
Okay.
addressed.
I don't have any problem.
Any other questions? Yeah, we need a motion then to approve the Carroll County privacy remediation plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. Okay. Next, we'll move down to, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, and if you don't mind, we're gonna go ahead and sign off now and.
No, that's
move on to
fine.
some other things.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday season.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Okay, next we have plats. And I think we have two there. First one is for Wayne, request by Wayne Boots and Grant Section 11. And it looks like they've got an 80 acres that they're just splitting the two.
I wouldn't make a motion to approve the Wayne Foods spot.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Wayne Foods request for plat on Grant Section 11. And if any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. The next plat we have is requested by Cyril Renzi in Roselle, Section 34. This is basically platting off an acreage. And I will make a motion to approve that plat. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, next we have is set public hearing to review proposed plans for redraw of supervisor district. Courtney?
All right, I would like to set December 20th at 9:30 as the public hearing date. The redistricting board will be meeting on the 13th to kind of finalize their proposed plans. So the 20th would be an ideal date for you guys to see those plans and start the process of either accepting their proposed plans or redrawing. it's an ordinance, so we would have to do the proper steps after that hearing.
Which means you have to have two public.
I believe you can have one and waive
Yeah,
second,
it's
third.
three readings. Waive.
Yeah, written or verbal comments on this.
I haven't seen anything. It's my understanding, I put the public notice up for the redistricting commission and made note that those plans are available on our website. And Sarah was gonna put those on. the website, so,
There's not a ton of change.
no.
There's only a change in one township, Maple Road. That's between District 2 and District 3, which would be Dean in my district.
I'm giving it six
Six sections?
sections,
Yeah, roughly 6 sections.
and it's all rural. No. So,
So, I mean, it doesn't really affect the voters per se, because you guys are voted on at large. It only affect somebody interested in running if they have to reside in that area, so. Minimal changes, but it got the results that we needed.
I saw it.
Yeah. Basically, I go around the outside of Maple River on the east side.
Was it like 50 some people?
yeah, that was 56.
So those 50 people, there may, they probably used to be in the north half of Maple River Township and voted at the Methodist Church. Now they're gonna be in the south half, or technically not the south half, but they're gonna vote in a different precinct. That could be fixed if we had those two vote in the same place. You know, then they would, but right now, they one votes at the St. John's and the other one votes at the Methodist Church, so.
And those that are affected by voting, do you reach out to them or do they just?
They get a
cancel it?
notification in the mail.
So essentially, you're both traveling to Carroll to vote, one's opposed, one church, one goes to the other.
Yeah,
So,
it's just a matter of letting those 50 people know, which doesn't even amount to 50 letters, because it's one just to each household. The only weird thing is right now we call it Carroll Ward 2 and the north half of Maple River Township. Well, technically, it's not the north half of Maple River Township anymore, so we may need to call it something different.
Why don't you pass that around?
I'm not sure. Same way with Ward 3 and the south half, because it used to be that it was divided in half. I don't know. Might just
Well,
have to look
and
at how
basically
what we
this
call
thing
it.
is, I think, 10 years ago. I gave up some of them, maybe where we're from now, I'm getting something back. Except those along the west edge, I think are all new different.
And you know, we may be able to still call it north half and south half, but
so where was the growth at?
Like this probably was, he goes in Carroll.
Is there a growth in the north part of Carroll? Rita
Yeah.
probably grew.
Well, I think we didn't go very much. A couple. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused on that too, really. I would.
Yeah, I just didn't, because over the apartment complexes, I can see how that can swing real quickly.
Yeah, I don't know where the growth would have been, to be quite honest with you. I mean, there's nothing in Carroll that.
Not that corner. and
No.
the South part and the east part, but. I just was curious, I mean, where that.
Some of my district.
so it might be
You
that years
say
ago.
abandoned
may have went backwards more than you grew.
Yeah,
I never
that's
thought
probably,
that.
yeah, that's probably it more than anything.
I
That'd be
think
interesting.
Manny went down, actually, I think most, maybe Arcadia is the only small communities that actually got up a little bit.
How well they all.
The rest all very well stood back.
A little. Okay. I'll bet you're right. I bet it was you going.
Manning lost 45 feet.
Yeah.
There's
See,
where
there
the
you
big
go.
swing is.
Yeah, it wasn't that anybody gained any, it's just that we lost.
Rita gained 17, it says.
You know, and those,
Templeton lost 10.
I think those
There's
figures,
50.
That's right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
but those figures, I think sometimes, I think there's one household, I was questioning for even report. I think there's certain households don't want to report. But, so, any questions on that? So we're basically not, we're just setting this up and.
You're setting the
public
board
hearing.
of supervisors public hearing, and
In
I'm
it-
doing that so we can meet publication requirements.
In anticipation that we're gonna approve it.
Yep.
So we're just trying,
Well, you're gonna, the hearing will be to consider what they're giving you. So at that time, at the hearing, you're gonna decide whether you are gonna accept the plans or you're gonna redraw and what your next steps are, so.
okay, is there a motion to approve setting the public hearing?
Second.
Then moved and second, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, next we have is the fiscal year 21 annual renewal.
It all disappeared there for a second.
Annual urban renewal report.
Okay, so this is the annual report we file for the county's one and only TIP district for Iowa corn processors. You could see that at the end of fiscal 21, we had approximately $50,000 that's still owed on that. I'm projecting at the end of fiscal 22, there'll be about $50 is all. So that will, I'm not going to certify any new debt on this year. We estimate the TIP payments and they can vary. So we obviously don't want to collect too much because if we do that, then we're giving it back to the other entities. We want to be as close as we can. So this is a report I file with the state that shows what we collected as far as revenues in the TIP district, any new debt that was issued, et cetera. So probably have to do another one of these for 22 and then we'll be done.
So currently we have, you said it's 50,000.
At the end of fiscal 21, we have collected. We did that last week, I believe, where we did the transfer for the TIF.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's probably about half of that now.
So end of fiscal 21, we have $50,690 left.
Yep.
Would we have an option for that $50? Not the even-
Yeah, so like at the end of fiscal 22, if there's a balance due of like $45, we can just write that off.
Well,
Or we can say, we can request. When you do tips, you can let the system calculate what's going to collect, or you can put in a specific amount. So we could put in $45 and we would collect $45 and that would be it. We'll just have to see how much it is.
Where we want to go.
Yeah, I'm just hoping we don't, are on the other side where the tip is overcharged, and we have a credit.
And then we just got reimbursed it back. Huh?
Yeah, we reimburse the school and the township. Assessor and all the,
All
Yeah,
of
that's-
it.
it would be kind of a pain, it
Yeah,
can be
yeah,
done, it
So,
can be done,
A
but
lot of paperwork
it would
for,
be.
to move
And that,
very
and
far.
that does happen when you get towards the end of
Yeah.
your tip, but obviously, haven't heard of any plans to do anything more with this. I'm guessing when it's paid off, it's just going to go away. I don't know, at one time it was talked about doing something with that road. Obviously, the tips, if that urban renewal area is in effect for that area, you could choose to do that on another project if you want to.
They'd have to do it before this TIF expires. Or I suppose
No,
you
this-
could start a new one.
Yeah, you could, this would just kind of lie dormant for a while, and then you do like an amended urban renewal plan. With a plan in there for doing the road, and you can certify the debt. But that would all be done by the board of supervisors.
But if you wait too long, then you lose that, you don't have a, what's got built in here is the.
Yeah,
increment.
that frozen base.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's 10 years maybe. So the district base year is 2013.
but also if we get other entities. We, that established, you know what I'm saying, that the increase.
You know what I'm saying? So they want that road down short.
Right. It would take care of itself.
Then that, because there's that increase in base, we wait too long, we lose that increment. So you reestablish the base, and we'll have a big jump in base. And it won't get paid off.
That's quick.
Maybe not.
So when we set the base year in 13, the value was $1.3 million. And then after that project got done, it was $8.3 million. So
That's
the
why it gets paid off.
increment there is
It's a lot of,
7 million. Yeah, so
um,
like I said, I assume this TIF district will sit dormant until it's planned. If we want to do anything in that area or, that'd be a board of supervisor decision.
what was the original? That amount.
That,
Approximately.
I don't know if that shows up on here. I have to go back and look. I don't think it's on this anymore.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. No.
I don't see it on here.
Well, the first year we collected any revenue was 2016. So basically 5 years. I was thinking it was like $1 million something, but I might be wrong. I might be way wrong, but if you stop at the office, I can look. I have it.
I would say it's probably a good one to conquer that.
Yeah. I don't think it was $1 million.
I just think.
At $25,000 a year. I would say.
It was paid off.
We collected about $151,000 last year. Take that times 6.
Times 6, that's 6.
Yeah.
I thought it was like $700 and some thousand dollars.
Yeah, I have the exact amount.
I think you're
upstairs,
right. All right, any other questions? If not, we're in order for a motion to approve the fiscal year 21 annual urban renewal report.
I'll make that motion.
Then moved and seconded. Any further discussions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Okay, next we have committee reports.
I can go first. I only had one meeting last week and I attended it via Zoom. And mental health region. There will be there's some money that we have appropriated that will help with first responders for their fire, ambulance, and law enforcement, and it'll be on de-escalation. Issues that they run into, and that will be a free training that will be provided. There'll be some time sent out. Those will be held in Sac City and Sioux City. Those two sites for sure. We have been kicking around maybe 1 to 4 sites for those. Cut down on some of the travel. That will be coming out fairly soon. The access center that we purchased and was started to remodel and some snags that final modeling permits have been approved, and that will be getting started. Construction will be starting very soon. We had a presentation from the Crittenden Center. Very good presentation. I'm not sure whether we tabled that for right now. It does not meet all core, some of it's core, some of it's not, so we'll be discussing that and then upcoming meeting, whether we take that on or not. Other than that, I did receive a letter. It was dated November 23rd from a Barb Tui. She was requesting that if there is an opening on the Board of Health, she has interest in taking one of those seats. As of right now, I've learned that there is a board coming up at the end of the year, an opening, but I have not heard whether that person wishes to continue. I would assume that they probably will, but I haven't heard one way or another. So my recommendation is I'm going to give this letter to Courtney, have her keep it on file with the appointment. I'm glad that we get people that would like to be on boards, and certainly don't want to turn them away, but I also don't want to turn away people that are on the board, and the learning curve is large on some of these boards. And, so I'm just going to give it to Courtney and have her keep it on file. And if we do have an opening, then it gives us an opportunity to reach back to this person and see if they still have interest at that time. Upcoming meetings, I have tomorrow as Joanne's retirement. And other than that, I have nothing else on my agenda. I'm going to try to take a tour of the jail either today or sometime this week. See how progress is going on.
I can go next. Last week, I had Region 12's program over in Glidden, where they showed up the two rental, well, they showed up one rental unit, and Rick Hunziker did a great job explaining the circumstances there and the lack of housing that they had. This is going to try to help fill the void. Then I just have an update from Jamie Webker at the ambulance department. Jamie did hire a full-time PRN. He's an EMT and is a Midland Ralston first responder. His name is Jeremy Douglas. They're still having a little bit of issues for the ambulance that was involved in an accident. So it's up at Wood Trucks, and he's still trying to get some answers with that. He has 2 full-time employees out with injuries right now, unknown duration of the time of work. Both injuries happened outside of the work. And then I think Scott and I are going to try and set up a time in the near future to start working on his preliminary budget. This upcoming week, Joanne Martin's retirement, and then Hungry Canyons and the Sporting Committee in Portsmouth, Iowa, Friday. I also went and looked at some gravel roads concerns, just east and south of Willie area.
Last week, I had newspaper radio. I did go to the Glidden open house, also very nice. This week I have foster grandparents and RSVP.
I can go next. Last week I had no official business, took several phone calls, made several phone calls, been working with the Steuben group when they have questions. This week, don't have anything scheduled. No scheduled meetings this week. We'll see what happens. I'm sure that could change.
Okay, last week I was also over at the Clinton open house, and then on Tuesday we had a CAC board meeting, went through the financials. They had a discussion about changing their private dues structure. Currently the dues are $250. They're going to go on the private individuals up to $300. And then they did go through their 2022 budget. That was approved. We had some updates in regard to COVID recovery and also retail coach updates. they had legislative, they showed the new districts for the Senate and Representative side. And they reported on the private investment, they're up to $35,000 right now, which is about $3,000 more than they were a year ago at this time. And then I did have a conversation on Monday also with Mike Colby Weaver, and then also had several some conversations with John Ward and other people, that the communication thing is done. We need to have the city's got to approve it, and then we'll come back with it. The drafts are all reading one now, so they should be getting that done. This week, really don't have anything except for Joanne's retirement. Of course, like Dean says, that can always fill in. Seems like there's always plenty of phone calls.
You have the newspaper radio this week.
Yes, and I do have a newspaper and radio. Courtney, do you have anything? Any comments from those online, Ben? Or Dalton?
No comments online.
Next week, the only thing I have right now is Family Crisis Center funding request at 10.
The bill day.
No, it'll be a bill day on the 13th.
How far along do you think department heads are on their budgets?
Not very far.
So with the news, let's even try to schedule it. Okay.
I'd say you're better off waiting until the end of the week.
The end of the week?
Yeah. Because they don't have their worksheets yet.
Oh, I thought you give that already when you
Yeah, me
did that
too.
schedule. Oh, then we just will wait a couple weeks. Okay.
I'd say wait a little bit.
Okay, how about when you put that schedule out with our committees? Then?
Oh, I've left them, had it done already.
Okay, good thing I asked. I did review this Region 12 housing. I did get my question. Okay, if there's nothing else, we're in order for a motion to adjourn. Then moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion carried.